All right, I'm gonna get started here. Um, Basically, what I'm gonna go through today is the use of Consumption Workbench. I'm gonna do two different examples, one doing an ongoing running change, the other doing a new part introduction. For anybody who doesn't know, Consumption Workbench is basically um, a tool to compare your bill of material, in this case, your MBOM, against consumption against processes within your routing and operation. Idea being that once you make a change in the bill of material, you'll be able to see that you need to make the same change in your process, which in turn will change work instructions, part kitting, things like that. Um, so what I have here is a generated engineering change where I am adding in this 223697 and removing this 559639 part. I'm just swapping out fittings. Maybe I have a new supplier or something like that. But basically, what I've decided is on 831, I'm going to switch to the new part. So I've made that change in the bill of material. It's not what this one's about. There'll be different webinars about that. Now I want to go through and see where in my process this old part is being used, and where I probably need to put this new part. So I know that this is the assembly that I need. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go into Tools, Consumption Workbench. It loads up a selection screen. There's a couple different ways you can add. The easiest way, add assemblies from library. I'll show add assemblies from BOM later. So if I go in here, it's the same thing as the component search control. Paste it in, search, find the revision that I want, select it. If you need any help going through the component search, we have all that stuff online. In our manual, we have tutorials, everything like that. But all the same functionality is in here as anywhere else. We have advanced find, quick search, revision search, grouping in folders, all that good stuff. Okay, so once I've added the assembly that I'm looking at, the old way that we used to do this is you had to go through, click add, click routings, and you had to go through here and find which routings you needed to check against, right? We've added this button, populate routings from assemblies. What it does is it looks for anywhere where this assembly is apparent within the routing. I know just from having used this database a little bit that this is actually not one that I want to deal with right now. So I can uncheck that box. In addition to that, I can remove my selected routing. And what it'll do is leave me with the two routings that I actually want to compare against. So what it's going to do is it's going to look at this assembly in the bottom. It's going to look at all of its children, and it's going to find anywhere in these two routings, in these two stations that I have checked, where that parent is being consumed as a parent and its child is being consumed as a child. In addition to that, it's going to look and see if there are any extra parts that need to be deleted, any quantities that need to change, any new parts that need to be added. All that stuff gets checked. This is also configurable, so if you have more rules than that, like the sequence number in the BOM has to match the sequence number in consumption, things like that can be added as needed. So all you have to do to get to the next screen, hit close, closes the selection. And what it'll do is it'll come up and it'll give me a couple different screens. So on the left, I have the processes I selected. Top right, I have the comparison results. And then these two screens show me my existing consumption and my new consumption. I haven't selected anything yet, but once you select an activity, you can see what's in the existing and what's not. I have a really simple process here just because it's a standard example that we use. But basically what I have is a 0 consumption activity and then 2 consumption activities in each of these 2 station ones. So I know I have a delete, right? This is a part replace. So what I can do is right click on the part I need to remove, hit show parent process, and it'll bring me to where that part is. So it's that part number under that parent, that part number under that parent. This is existing consumption, so I can't actually change anything in here, no matter how hard I try. But what I can do is change it over here. And based on what I was going to do, I know that this needs to go out on 8/31. I also know that this was just a part replace, right? I don't actually need to look for a different activity. Internal fittings matches my new internal fittings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the internal fittings from up here. I'm going to drag it down here. You can see that it shows up. Description isn't there yet because I haven't hit save, but it automatically puts in 9/1. It automatically puts in the to date. And this is another thing that's configurable, what we take from the BOM. So by default, we take dates, quantity, and that's it. But we've had other customers say, bring in op sequence number, bring in what model does this go for, bring in, anything that is in the BOM we could bring into consumption through this UI. Once I've made my change, I can hit recompare. And what it'll do is say, I'm about to delete this one, I'm about to add this one. You can see that my add, delete, and change have gone to 0. But my pending changes folder went up to 2. If I look in it, it's going to say, okay, so the next time that I check this in, this is going to be added, this is going to be deleted. Same thing as my colors down here. Again, something that we do on a configuration basis is we can populate this pending changes folder for you. So if you have standard changes like this, where this is replacing this based on the op sequence number, the description, whatever. Maybe I have a field that literally is called part replace. What you can do is come in here and hit a button that we don't have enabled by default, and it'll just populate all these pending changes that we can figure out automatically. And then all you have to do is review them and check them in. You don't actually have to go through the process that I just did, where you find each part's parent process and go through and make sure everything is there. One other thing that we usually do is we have models and options mapping here. If I know that these are the same, I can just drag it in. Otherwise, I can right click and go into edit model option data, or I can go up here and I can do edit new consumption. Same idea, same thing as in the activity UI. Once I'm confident that I'm good to go, I can close out of here. First, I should save. Saves automatically on close, but once I hit save, you can see the descriptions come in. So all the defaults get set, and I can review those before I actually close out. Once I close out and I go find that routing, you can see that it's checked out by default because I went through Consumption Workbench. If I'm confident that I'm good to go, I can check everything in. I didn't even actually change that. Once I check everything in, if I want to just double check, I can go back into Consumption Workbench. Same steps as before. This time I'm not going to delete it. I'm just going to leave it there, not use it. But you can see that within this routing, I'm fully consuming the bill of material for that assembly that I chose. So in effect, this change is done. All I need to do, publish those models to the floor, make sure my kitting is set up correctly, and everything should run smooth. So that's the simple case where I already have a process set up. I'm just replacing one part. There are other cases where maybe I'm replacing an entire assembly. That's what I'm going to show now. Maybe I'm introducing an entire new model, whatever it is. Okay. So if I go back to my component module, what I did was created a model where basically I have two options. I can take dashboard English, dashboard Spanish, right? I already have the English one all consumed. I don't have any of the Spanish one consumed. The parts under it are all different, probably different suppliers, but they all basically are the same. So what I can do is I can use this top part as a reference for this bottom part. I'm going to open this item. Copy that. Go back into my Consumption Workbench through Tools. Okay. I'm going to remove everything just so you can see the whole process here. Okay. So I added those both to a model. Said I would show this. So you can add through the bill of material if you want. So right now I have model A. I know that I need to add this other dashboard assembly. Technically, I could expand it and do assemblies below that, expand it again, do assemblies below that. So this is a way to grab more and more assemblies. Generally, we only use this in like new product introduction, something like that. But you can expand all this, hit select all, and you'd get them all levels of your assemblies. For now, I know I just want that one. I'm going to consume all of these as consumables and buy parts. So I'm going to select that, hit OK. That brings this in here. Hit populate from routings. Unsurprisingly, I get no routings, right? I don't know exactly which routings this should go into based on this parent ID. But what I do know is that it is almost exactly the same as this other assembly. So if I add that other assembly, got both of them, I hit populate. I again get rid of this test one. And I go to the next screen. What you'll see here is that there are 7 ads, all of them for the new parent, right? Okay. And all of these aren't set up correctly because this is just a dummy data set. But basically what I would do is I'd go figure out, okay, internal fittings, probably internal and fittings, right? So I go find where I have internal fittings. I grab this, move it down here, same deal. It brings in the date, brings in the quantity. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the corresponding part and add that in as needed. You can see I've done a couple of these. I don't want to accidentally consume too many. If I do though, when I hit recompare, what it'll do is tell me that I overconsumed this one. I have 2 in my current setup and I should only have 1. So if I ask it what processes are these being used in, I can go in here. I can see it's there and I can see it's there. So in reality, what I need to do is either split it, so I do 0.5 and 0.5, or get rid of one of these, hit recompare, and that change should go away. Now it just wants me to add these 3. As you can see, the process is still filtered based on me right-clicking and saying show parent process. If I want to get rid of that, all I have to do is right-click in here, clear process filter, and then I'm back to my main screen. I can go in here, finish up my consumption. Hit recompare again. Now I have all pending changes, all ads, and I can save, close. Go to my routing, check everything in. And now the whole point behind this is that if I go in here, I should be able to know if I'm building one of those, what am I using? If I'm building the other, what am I using? So if I go in here and I say, I want to know my station parts report, and I want to do it by a specific parent, it should only give me the specific parent that I have asked for and what parts are required for it at this routing. So in station 1 and 2, what parts do I need for this specific parent? I have these 3. And if I go back and I do it for the other parent, run by parent, you can see the part lists are different. Same idea with work instructions, tooling, everything like that. If you run it by parent, you should see that you're completely consumed within the routings if you add all the routings together. And again, the way that you would check that is I can go back in here. I've got both of my assemblies. I've got both my routings. I've checked in now. So all of my changes are saved. And you can see that I have no add change deletes, meaning my entire bill of material for those 2 assemblies is completely consumed within these 2 routings. Didn't actually make any changes, so I'm going to undo my checkouts. Okay. The only other thing that we really get into is what do we do if we have a new assembly or an existing assembly and we need to completely change the process that's consuming it? Unfortunately, right now, there is no way to create new processes um, within Consumption Workbench. So, for example, if what I actually need to do is split the work between two stations here, I'm going to go in here and say, okay, so I need a secure activity to be in the second station. I'm going to have that start in a few days. And that means that I need to end the other one the day before. Okay, I'm going to go back into Consumption Workbench. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change my comparison date and you'll see that it's coming up here saying that I need to change my effective dates on each of these. Actually need to add in my I know that I'm going to put it in my new station. So what I'm going to do is go in here and say I'm using all these parts. In my new station. It says I'm double consuming, but I know that I'm not. What I'm actually doing is I'm switching the date from oh, 9:15. What I'm actually doing is I'm consuming all of these in one station and then at some point switching over and consuming it in another. Save, close, and then I can check in. Okay. So that's the basics behind Consumption Workbench. Again, basically what it's used for is comparing an assembly across multiple routings to make sure that all parts are consumed given some specific set of fields. So right now, by default, what we have set up is part number, parent ID, quantity, date. But like I said, we have had multiple customers ask us to add in extra keys. So basically setting, the op sequence numbers all have to add up to the right quantity. Even if I have two of the same part in the same bill of material, one needs to be op sequence number 10 and consume 2. The other needs to be op sequence 20 and consume 4, right? The total should be 6, but they should be split between those op sequence numbers correctly. They should be coming in on the correct dates They should be going out on the correct dates. The total quantity under the parent should be correct. Maybe each row has a set of models that it applies for, and that needs to also be in consumption. Things like that can all be set up. Basically, anything in the bill of material that you want to compare against the consumption within the process, we can do.